Good morning, everybody. Now this is good. Now I don't have to scream. Okay, are we ready? Good morning. My name is Niels Righolt, and I'm going to be the moderator of this workshop, this seminar on Culture for Health, the second stage of FREE, where the different partners in the project will unload what does it really take to combine, create, initiate initiatives where culture works for health and where we can break the pipelines and create new spaces of cross-sectorial collaboration between the health sector and the culture sector. The first stage took place in Aarhus a few months ago. Today we are here in this beautiful old 11th century palazzo in Bologna. And in October, we will all meet again in Cluj in Romania. This composition of stages is very carefully thought out by the project in order to create a space in between for reflection, a space in between for local and regional and transnational touchdowns where we can kind of touch on some of the challenges, some of the breaking points, some of the key learnings that we have in these seminars. With me in this opening today, I have the project manager, Cornelia Kiss from Culture Action Europe. And Cornelia, you would like to say something about the project. Just make sure that everybody who's following us, also you who are following us online, and a warm welcome to you as well, knows what this is all about. So Cornelia, please.
Yes, hello everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I don't know if we can get the first slide on the screen. Yes. Yes, as you see, we are ambitious. We really want to make a policy change on bringing culture, arts, and health, and the social sectors together. And although there are many projects already out there that are on arts and health, but what we would like to achieve is that it becomes more structural, it becomes a real different, because municipalities and regions and member states are seeing it as a real strategic way to work on arts and health. And we will see later on some examples who have already taken that up, but our aim is to make this on an EU level, so EU-wide. And that's why we are here actually, to discuss from the health sector, from the cultural sector, of how we could achieve that. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Culture for Health. We are actually preparing a delicious soup currently, and we have a couple of ingredients for that. One of the things that we are doing is we are collecting evidence on arts and health, the impact of art and health and how it improves the well-being of citizens. Actually, in June, we are going to come out with a very big research. We have screened 5,800 articles and researches on this topic, and big thanks to Dana, Marina, and Rarita, and also some other people, Oana, who have done that. Yes, stay tuned. You are going to get this research out there. So it's a scoping review, really trying to put together all the evidence that is out there. Another ingredient is building a database of arts and health projects, policies, and programs that across the EU, so that it's possible to learn from each other. So from a project in Italy, it's possible to learn, for example, in an Eastern European country. And there are 6 pilot projects. One of them is what we have seen yesterday, the parade. And I think, Matteo, is that the time to bring in the children?
So hello everyone, hope you enjoyed the parade yesterday and very much welcome for the people who joined us today. Can I give some logistical info too first? If you still need your badge, we have them at the entrance together with some bags tailored from recycled material in our cultural center, Camera d'Aria. You will see it tomorrow. And logistical info about the building, if you need the toilets, they are that way on the right. And I wanted to present you, since we worked with the parade yesterday, which is a parade that is born through 2-3 months of previous workshops of arts and crafts made for children, for youngsters, but also by children and for youngsters. And so I wanted to present Antonella and his team from Giardino del Guasto, which we will see also later today with an aperitivo at 7 p.m. Quindi, Anto? They are, I mean, our special guests. Since this is a research project, they have developed their own university and research project. So you will be our, I mean, we will try some tests on you later that you can do during the day, during lunch. It's no rush, you don't have to do it now. And they don't speak English, so I will translate and Antonella will make a presentation and also maybe i nomi?
Allora, sono le docenti di un'università che è nata l'anno scorso, il recente 2022, è ubicata tra Bologna e Parigi.
Okay.
Prossimamente saranno una sorpresa.
So they are the founder of a university that is born just this year, and it is based between Bologna and Paris.
Sì, Parigi. Tutto nasce all'interno del Giardino del Guasto, dove la filosofia del giardino rispecchia quello dell'architetto che l'ha costruito negli anni 70, e il bambino è protagonista. L'adulto diventa secondario all'esigenza del bambino e dell'architettura del luogo che tira fuori l'energia bella dell'Università della Gentilezza.
Okay, so they are the founder of the University of Kindness, and it is the university is born in Giardino del Guasto, Bologna, which is a architectural project made in the 70s, which was made and tailored upon children. So if you're an adult and you enter there, you feel that, and this is important in the city because usually cities are not made for children.
Ora lascio la parola, ve le presento, Elvira Polito, quanti anni? 9.
9 years.
Vittoria Musso
8 years.
e Frida Bonvicini.
9 years too.
Ora loro vi leggeranno, perché è stata una sorpresa anche per me, hanno lavorato tantissimo e hanno qualcosa da presentare.
Okay, they're going to present the project.
La gentilezza. La gentilezza è la cosa migliore per avere degli amici.
Kindness is the best way to have friends.
La gentilezza è la vita!
Okay. Kindness is life. Maybe you got this.
Ecco a voi il mostro della gentilezza e i suoi amici.
This is the kindness monster and his friends.
Excuse me, sono molti questi mostri. Circondate da mostri. Ok, andiamo avanti.
La gentilezza è l'unica medicina per vivere, è il modo fra i più migliori modi per dimostrare l'amore.
So kindness is one of the best way to live, and it's also the best way to show love.
Ora dobbiamo passare a un secondo titolo.
Allora.
Abbiamo preso appunti, vai.
No, è vero. Ora vi daremo un documento cartaceo dove vi invitiamo nella vostra lingua madre a scrivere qual è l'animale più gentile per voi. Ci servirà per completare la nostra ricerca su quanto gli adulti sanno essere gentili. Vi aggiorneremo sul risultato della nostra ricerca. Grazie.
So now we proceed with the test. We will give you a document, since also the parade is made on animals. You know, we have different animals every year, and you can compile it during the day. No, I don't have to do it now. You have to draw what you think is the best, is the kindest animal. And they will update you on the result of the research. And this research is to show, is to work on for them how adults can still be kind. And
One, two, three. Grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore. Se gentile vuoi diventare, devi imparare ad ascoltare, e se in gruppo tu vorrai stare, le buone maniere devi imparare. Grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore. Metti un po' di gentilezza anche nelle piccole cose, troverai amicizia, amore, ed il mondo sarà migliore. Grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore, grazie mille, per favore. Ci stai assieme.
thank you. Thank you. We have a very thick program, so we can continue. And the professors are going to distribute the test now.
I was just thinking that, oh, I would love to be a professor at that age. That would be great. Then life would be prosperous. We have a very, very tight program ahead of us. So I think we will jump just right into it and present the first speaker of the day. And then we will loop back. During the day, we will loop back to some of the key findings from the very first of our seminars in Aarhus, so that we will touch base there. And we will also kind of reintroduce some of the structures that Cornelia just touched upon in her presentation. So the very first speaker is with us, and it's one of the most significant voices in contemporary research on arts and policies. And it's a good old colleague of mine, Pierluigi. Good to see you again. Warm welcome. And you have promised to kind of touch base on the key priorities for a successful in arts and health policy. And I will give you the floor, and we will just sit back and listen to you. So please, Pierluigi, a warm welcome to this seminar.
Thank you very much. I hear a bit of okay, now it's better. Do you hear me well?
We do.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much for inviting me to this very, very important session, and my heartfelt apologies for not being able to be there in presence. Unfortunately, sometimes life is complicated. But I'm really happy to give you a short reflection on what is the state of the art of policy around culture and health today. I think we are at a very important junction. As you know, the research on culture and health has a very, very long tradition. It's basically starting in the late 90s in a systematic way, but especially in the last 15 years, it has taken more and more center stage, not only in cultural policy, but increasingly also in public health, and is starting now also to take off in areas like behavioral medicine. What is, however, the central issue today is in building methodologies and an evidence base that go beyond the anecdotal level. I really need to be a bit more precise about this. Of course, we have a long tradition of areas like art therapy, for example, or arts for health in a very general sense. The problem, which is also the main hindrance about this area being accepted as a major field of development, for example, in the medical profession, is that we need to gather evidence according to methodologies and standards, which are those who are typical, more generally, of clinical research. So this means that so far there has been a flourishing of practice, sometimes also very, very impressive in terms of ingenious methods and also interesting, intriguing results that, however, has not been measured in ways that can be considered compelling and useful from the point of view of medical research and more generally, and more specifically, clinical research. Let's consider a very popular today initiative that is blossoming everywhere because it works very well from the point of view of communication and advocacy. The arts on prescription kind of approaches, which is the idea that medical doctors can prescribe to their patients, for example, visits to museums, also other forms of cultural experience, but visit to museums in general. This has been the most popular option. Well, the problem is that, of course, this is interesting. Of course, this can also be potentially beneficial, but we have very, very vague ideas about how, in practice, this arts on prescription kind of approach works and whether it makes a difference, for example, for therapeutic efficacy. I would like to stress that what we are looking for is not an instrumentalization of culture. We are not simply saying culture must become a medicine or a treatment or an intervention like just everything else. Culture has a meaning in itself, and not incidentally, it is exactly because it has a meaning in itself that is so important also for health and well-being. But from this point of view, it's very, very important to stress that what we are looking for is a way to create a new alliance between cultural production and medical and health professions in which nobody hijacks the other. So what makes it interesting and what makes it effective is the fact that culture is culture and does culture, but also at the same time unleashes some potentials that are particularly beneficial also on other sides. And this thing is not an instrumental or unintended consequence, but it's literally one of the reasons why culture is so important and relevant to humans. Let's not forget, for example, that at the very beginning of this story, for example, Western culture, we have the theater of Epidaurus, for example, was in the middle of the temple of Asclepius, so the temple of the god of medicine in the classical Greece. So this connection has been noted long ago. The point is that we need to rediscover this connection on a deep level because the main weakness towards a path of sound clinical assessment and evaluation of why culture is important goes through understanding better the pathways, the mechanisms through which culture can be so beneficial. And this is far from obvious. What we have today is a lot of research that is correlational. So we are basically observing certain types of behaviors or outcomes as related to culture, but in a simultaneous cross-sectional observation so that we can measure correlations, but not necessarily infer causal mechanisms, but also in longitudinal studies and randomized trials in which we do assess, at least to some extent, correlation and causal pathways, we have the problem that we can say sometimes that culture has an effect, but we don't know why exactly. And this moves from the very early results of the longitudinal studies in the 90s, for example, from the group of Lars Bigren and Karolinska. We know from those studies that longitudinally evaluating outcomes of differential approaches to cultural experience in differential people, for example, in different people. So, for example, people who are having a constant exposure to cultural stimuli and people not having that. We know from these longitudinal studies that there is a life expectancy difference that can be as big as 2.5 years, accounting for all confounders. So, of course, discounting the effect of education, of income, of age, of gender, and so on and so forth. But the point is why? And here we are really still leaning backwards. We are at the very beginning of a sensible understanding of the mechanism. However, some early ideas are starting to emerge. And I think that this is important not only for research, but also for policy design. And I illustrate this with a simple example of one of the pathways that we are starting to understand. And this is the relationship between cultural participation, activity, and stress. So this is not the only pathway, of course. There are dozens, probably hundreds of different pathways, and this makes the picture so much complicated. But we know today that the relationship between cultural participation and stress is extremely important. Now, let's exemplify this a bit. So stress, as we know, is a pathogenetic factor of increasing importance, unfortunately, in our societies, because stress is related to very heightened levels of chemicals like, for example, cortisol or norepinephrine or adrenaline, as it is also known. And for example, stress is at the basis of conditions like, for example, high blood pressure, that, as we know, and so more generally, cardiocirculatory diseases that are, of course, particularly threatening from the public health point of view, also because they are one of the major causes of death. And from this point of view, stress release is extremely important as an activity. One of the reasons why we are so exposed to stress today is that the stress has evolved as an evolutionary mechanism for very good reasons. So stress is generally related, in our hunters and gatherers long past, stress was extremely important to allow our ancestors to endure in very complex situations, like, for example, being chased by a predator or being on a hunting mission for days, for example, sometimes. And in these cases, of course, maintaining very, very high level of vigilance and energy, and not, for example, being swayed by pain or by other issues is particularly important. So with stress, for example, is also related a reduced sensitivity to certain forms of pain and disturbance, at least until the stressor is still in place. And so the reasons are that, sometimes there are some survival challenges that are so dramatic that they need, in some sense, a suspension of every other mechanism just to concentrate on the survival goal. The problem is that we are evolved into societies in which stress has been less and less linked to immediate survival threats, and more to activities and priorities that are basically weaved into the fabric of our everyday life. But as a consequence of this, our psychobiological systems are constantly into a state of alarm that clearly has very detrimental consequences on our health. There is today, for example, increasing evidence that prolonged periods of stress, for example, have very serious consequences, even on the shape and the organization of the telomeres of our, for example, chromosomes in the DNA. So literally, there are profound modifications at the biomolecular level that are particularly concerning. So allowing ourselves to release stress or creating opportunities to release stress is particularly important. We know, for example, that culture has clearly this kind of function. I've been personally involved, for example, in a study that has been one of the pilot studies in this regard, in which we exposed 100 voluntary participants to a visit to a heritage site where they climbed 70 meters high to watch at a close distance a frescoed vault in the city of Vicoforte, close to Mondovì in Cuneo province in Italy. And we measure, for example, the level of salivary cortisol, that is one of the most important markers of stress, before and after the visit, together with the levels of psychological well-being. And we observe that even if accounting for the circadian cycle of cortisol levels, because cortisol levels are high in the morning and they decline up to the evening, we have observed, for example, in that case, that the decrease of the stress level after the visit was much bigger than one could expect on the simple variation of the circadian cycle. This is not an isolated observation. More studies are accumulating on the clear convergent evidence that in certain circumstances, culture is really decreasing the level of stress as measured by some of their biological correlates, like, for example, cortisol levels. There are, of course, other activities in addition to culture that are also useful to release stress. For example, a walk in the park or generally contact with nature in green spaces is clearly helping to release stress. Many other activities can do this. For example, for some people, exercise, doing jogging, for example, is very effective from the point of view of stress release. But what is interesting about culture is that in various cultural forms, we combine together most of the channels through which humans release stress in very effective ways. Think, for example, of activities like collective dancing. In collective dancing, you move, you are exposed to social relationships, for example, and this is very important. They happen in places that are not necessarily green spaces, but they are generally spaces that have a big symbolic value. I could go on with showing how many different layers an activity like, for example, collective dance or singing in a choir managed to put together from the point of view, for example, of stress release. So this means that one of those effects of cultural participation, for example, stress release, is so tightly related to activities that have a clear benefit from the point of view of survival value, that the big implication that emerges from our point of view is the fact that whereas most people tend to tell a narrative according to which culture can be fine and important, but it's not basically related to main survival issues. So it has to do with self-expression or self-achievement. So it is ideally at the top of a Maslow pyramid of needs. What we are discovering once we take these pathways seriously is that culture is deeply related to basic survival challenges. And literally, culture can become a resource to live better and to live longer. There are, of course, many other channels that are particularly important from this point of view. For example, we understand today that culture is also an extremely important resource for social bonding. And social bonding, again, is a survival threat. We know today, and the WHO has even developed a guideline in this regard, we know that loneliness is a stressor and it can be pathogenetic exactly like stress. So people who are lonely are at a higher risk of a series of very, very important conditions that can compromise health. And it could be considered in some sense as a social illness in itself. So again, we know that there are forms of socialization through culture that are particularly effective. And I mentioned before, for example, collective dance or singing in a choir. These activities are particularly helpful from the point of view of socialization for a reason. They have to do with synchronized movement. Every time that there is a synchronized movement, or more generally synchronization, we have, there is an incredible amount of evidence that is building up. We have phenomena of a biological synchronization. Heartbeats of people singing together or even watching together, for example, a theater play, tend to synchronize. We have even preliminary evidence that brain waves tend to synchronize. These are, of course, astounding results that show, however, how deeply ingrained this biosocial programming and biopsychological programming is in our own physical constitution. So to elaborate better policy approaches, we need to know more about why. We are on the way. It is extremely important that new experiences, like, for example, developing new projects in which we seek a better collaboration between medical scientists, biologists, behavioral scientists, artists, and cultural professionals, is extremely important that these new experiences make a serious effort to develop compelling tools for measuring the effects, develop compelling methodologies for assessing causal relationships, but also try to investigate on the possible pathways. From this point of view, we are facing an exciting new cycle of potential development, and we have to understand that Europe is embracing this challenge at a level that at the moment is unmatched in every other place in the world. I think that what has been put forward, for example, in the new European Agenda for Culture, published in 2018, with this new idea of cultural crossovers, and in particular the crossover between culture, health, and psychological well-being, puts really Europe at the frontier of experimentation. And not incidentally, in some of the calls that have already been issued for the Horizon Europe project, for example, these issues were considered directly and explicitly. So this is the moment. It is extremely important to carry forward this experimentation. It is extremely important to develop Europe-wide collaborations that enable us to design and implement randomized trials and especially longitudinal studies on very, very specific effects with a very clear idea on the pathways that we want to test. And we need also to start experimenting in developing new professional profiles in which people with a hybrid background from medical, nursing, and cultural professions can really start to develop new ways to serve in these particular fields for which the social demand for the next few years is clearly expanding dramatically. But it is extremely important to do this, as I said, in a very compelling and rigorous way. I think that the study that you're promoting clearly has a very, very big importance in this regard, and I really look forward to the results. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Yes, I can repeat. Pierluigi, can you hear me now?
Yes,
oh,
I
that's
do.
good.
Thank you.
Just one quick question for you. Do you see that the political structures are receptive to really embrace and create, let's say, gray zones of interaction and funding that can meet the needs that you just described?
Yeah, my impression is that yes, of course, there is a diversity of attitudes. For example, in Scandinavian countries, in Nordic countries, I see lots of concrete interest from this point of view, because there is a very long tradition. For example, in Mediterranean countries in Europe, sometimes the evidence of the attitudes are more mixed. But just to make an example, in Italy, we have now ongoing a major experimentation promoted by Compagnia di San Paolo, which is a very important, prominent cultural foundation in Italy. A program called, for example, Cultural Welfare, which is about designing specific trials. For example, one that we are implementing now is one that involves the Foundation for Architecture in Turin and the association of the medical doctor, family medical doctors of the city of Turin, for example, to move studies, doctor studies in museums and doctor studios in museums, and for example, observing how this changes the therapeutic alliance between patient and medical doctor. So from this point of view, I think that we are still in a relatively scattered situation with very heterogeneous responses, but I really see by the day, essentially, new administrations at every level starting to pay an interest in this. So it's extremely important to circulate this material and to provide helpful examples that can be replicated or can be inspired further action.
Thank you very much, Pierluigi. Grazie mille. And from Pierluigi's mentioning the Nordics, we will go on to my old colleague, Anita Jensen from the region of Skåne. Good morning, Anita.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. It's great.
Wonderful.
Anita, you're the researcher for one of the new initiatives, and you're connected both at the University of Lund, but also at the region of Skåne. Is that right?
That's right. Yes. Thank you.
Please give us your introduction.
Yes. So good morning to all of you in Italy. I hope the weather is better than it is here. I trust that also. So as Niels said, my name is Anita Jensen, and I work as a researcher and an arts and health strategist in primary healthcare in Region Skåne. Can I have a new slide, please? Thank you. So Region Skåne is in the south of Sweden and has approximately 1.8 million inhabitants. And Region Skåne is a self-governing administration, which is funded and overseen by a regional council that is elected by the inhabitants of the region. Healthcare is Region Skåne's dominant area of activity, but the regional authorities are also responsible for public health and public transport, social planning, environmental and climate matters, as well as tourism and arts and culture. New slide, please. So in Region Skåne, we've been working with developing the arts and health field for some time now, and strategic initiatives as knowledge dissemination, network building activities and projects can be traced back to 2003. And from the beginning, it has been the cultural committee and the cultural department that has been the driving force behind these efforts. But an important development happened in 2014 when the Cultural Committee and the Healthcare Board adopted the first joint strategy for arts and health in the region, which ran from 2015 to 2020. So this joint policy work has helped, This joint policy has helped to raise awareness and knowledge of the benefits of the arts and health and well-being, and has stimulated processes towards making these benefits a reality in the region. And this strategy document has also led to increase in collaborations between the sectors. So, for example, it has been behind the financing of support for activities and projects, as well as knowledge raising initiatives as courses and conferences. Examples of activities and projects include our hospital clowns, dance for Parkinson's, dance for health in general, shared reading, arts and prescription, book start, etc. A strategic group for arts and health was created with representatives from the cultural administration, the units of public health, and the hospital libraries, and the health administration, as well as people from primary healthcare. And a direct result of this cross-sectoral work can be seen as, for example, the educational course for arts and health that we have at Lund University, which is aimed at social and healthcare professionals, as well as people working in the cultural industry. Next slide, please. So development takes time, and it was therefore a common political decision to have a new revised strategy, and this vision was shared by all the politicians from the Health Board and the Cultural Committee. So we started by evaluating the old strategy to better understand what had worked and what had not worked over the past 5 years. And the evaluation showed that there's still a lot to do in terms of knowledge dissemination, legitimacy, mandate, and financing. And the process took more than a year. The process of developing the strategy was categorized by participation, inclusion, and collaboration between politicians and officials from several different committees, boards, and administrations within the region. It also included the involvement of many stakeholders, including a steering group consisting of heads of different departments and administrations. We had regular political meetings to discuss. We had workshops with the Cultural Committee and the Health and the Healthcare Board. There was a working writing group, which consisted of 3 people, including myself, and the strategy group for arts and health was also involved in the process. At times, the Public Health Board also participated in these conversations, as well as the board responsible for hospital building and care environments. New slide, please. So we also consulted all relevant committees in the region. In this way, the strategy was sent out for comments to the Psychiatry, Rehabilitation and Support Committee, the Primary Healthcare Board, the Regional Development Board, the Regional Agency, boards at 8 different hospitals in the region, and the Service Committee. Overall, the feedback from the boards and committees were all positive. They acknowledged that the strategy provided opportunities for participation and inclusion, and they agreed on the importance of cross-sectoral collaboration, both internally in Region Skåne and with external stakeholders. And of course, we also received comments and requests for clarification, minor changes, and wishes for additional elements to be considered in the new strategy. New slide, please. So with the new strategy, Region Skåne wants to continue and develop the role of arts in healthcare context, as well as highlight the benefits of the arts in health promotion work. And in this way, the goal is to be able to continue to create arts for health and well-being in all areas of healthcare work in the region, supporting people in holistic ways over entire lifespans. So the strategy is based on Region Skåne's overall goal of better life and health for more people. And to achieve this, we will increase cross-sectoral collaboration within our own organization, but also engage in collaborations with external actors, for example, local authorities, cultural stakeholders, civil society, and academia. We have also linked the strategy with other important steering documents in the region, including the region's plan for healthcare of the future, the business plan, the regional development plan, and regional plan for arts and culture. New slide, please. So what is the actual content of this strategy? Well, we can boil this down to 4 strategic focus areas. And number 1 is a knowledge-driven activities. And here we see, for example, aiming to have more competence enhancing initiatives for and with relevant stakeholders in different sectors, as well as stimulating and developing platforms for knowledge exchange and research. So in essence, we can say this is an focus on internal and external knowledge building. Number 2 is arts and health should be established, anchored and financed within Region Skåne. So for example, here we aim to emphasize the relationship between arts, health and well-being, and promote the importance of interpolitical collaborations in relevant regional steering documents, as well as ensuring a yearly follow-up from the Healthcare Board and the Cultural Committee. So in essence, here we aim to ensure accountability. Number 3, arts and health activities in broad cross-sectional collaborations, for example, long-term structures for internal relationships and collaborations for better use of resources and finances. So in essence here, we want to stimulate collaborations top-down and bottom-up. And finally, number 4, method development and new practice in arts and health, working with a diversity of stakeholders. For example, supporting new practices and arts and health initiatives, creating transparency about availability, and developing new methods and models of work. So in essence, we want to increase the level of activity and transparency. Next slide, please. And as we all know, strategies, they have a tendency to end up on a shelf or as a digital document that we don't really open once we have looked at it. So in order to uphold the visions and the political commitments over the next 8 years, we plan to keep this document alive, so to speak. And we plan to engage the important stakeholders by having regular workshops with civil servants in order to develop understanding and platforms for interdisciplinary work. We aim to have workshops with politicians from a variety of different committees and boards in order to strengthening ownership, but also to foster commitment and broadening understanding. We are going to have regular steering group meetings in order to grow an interdisciplinary perspective. We will have regular meetings for the strategic group in order to develop areas of focus, knowledge sharing, and so on. Next slide, please. So we're also hoping that we can translate this document into English, so it will be available for a broader section of those who may be interested, because it only exists in Swedish at the moment. So that's all for me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Anita. And I can't help, obviously, since I not only understand the language, but I actually live in the region. I think it's quite interesting that you call your program Hela människan, hela livet, which means the whole individual for all of life. There's something about the dimension here, the whole of the individual. Could you just elaborate a bit about how that was received? That intention is quite broad. That is really about a cross-sectorial conversation on the political level as well. Was that a challenging conversation to have within the political structures to go, across the silos? Because that's what you've done. That's why I really like your program, is that you have really kind of made small holes in all the silos so that the conversation could flow. But were there any challenges in doing that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's why it's taken so long. Also, we started by evaluating the old documents. And there we found, as I said, quite a few things that were still uncertain, and obviously the political landscape had also changed since we did the old document, and it will change again here in September. So we don't know actually whether the new politicians that will be elected, whether they will endorse this document. We're hoping that, of course, that's the vision. But I think in terms of you asked the whole life, that the title of the document is the whole person, the whole life. And I think that's kind of linked in with the strategy, which is Region Skåne's overall goal, which is better life and health for more people. And that's an overall goal that's endorsed already by all the politicians. So I think that it was kind of an easy way in, because that already existed.
Super. Thank you very much, Anita, and enjoy the relatively bad weather up there in the north while we will be enjoying the beauty and the warmth down here. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
And now we should have had a short introduction to the city, a formal welcome, but unfortunately the person that was about to give us that presentation has caught COVID. So just reminding ourselves that the pandemia is still there, here, everywhere, and we're not really out of that bubble yet. The next session here is a tour de table, a roundtable, a very quick one. Because of course, you know, we have half an hour to touch base and get to know every one of you. And I will ask you to, when you get the microphone, to introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and then a very short reflection of what you hope to see. A short reflection of what you hope to see in the conversations that we will have on culture and health these 2 days. Behind me, you should be able to see the Menti, menti.com, and that is an expression for that we have now activated a Menti question. It will be active throughout the day. We will come back to it, but you can raise your own reflections, questions, points of thoughts, outlines, whatever you want to write, you can do that in the Menti, and we will check up on it and we will come back to it. And please do it, because that will help us also detract some of the key points and the learnings and the dilemmas and the conflict points that we might discover during the presentation. So now the Menti is active and you can just go in and start writing. Back to the roundtable. You'll each have 2 minutes just to say who, so just so we can get familiar. Remember, this is a safe space, yeah? This is a safe space for unsafe thinking. This is where we can get close to each other and look at each other and be hesitant together. We don't have to convince anybody about our own brilliance. We are brilliant. You're looking fantastic. And we know that we are here because we are all very good at what we are doing. So we can address these points of insecurity or the transitions or the reflection points openly, yeah? So let's get started. 2 minutes. Who are you? Where do you come from? And what do you hope from the conversations today and tomorrow? I will start at the very end of the line, please.
Thank you. So I introduce myself. My name is Veronica Ceruti. I'm from Bologna. I work here in Bologna as director of Bologna's libraries for the Department of Culture of the municipality. And I'm also the director of this foundation where we are right now. And so what I hope is to, of course, have a common dialogue, and also to see how my colleagues all around Europe try to find new solutions to work in an intersectional way to reach the goals for the well-being of people. Thank you.
My name is Feiruz Tamimi. I'm from CultureForHealth, one of the project partners, and I hope to learn and to know how we can engage our members. We are a network of members, more in projects like this where they can provide evidence so that we can advance the policies to change on a European level.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Tiffany Fukuma. I'm the managing director of CultureForHealth too. We're based in Sweden. We're a European network, and yes, I share the same interests, and I'd like to hear more about health as a sustainability issue for the arts and culture sector.
Based in the same city as Anita.
Hi all. Oh, it's loud. My name is Mikkel. I'm from Denmark. I am a cultural development consultant and a arts and health development consultant, developing arts and health projects in a region, Central Denmark region, it's called. I'm always looking for, I talked to Rosa from Finland about it yesterday, so I'm always looking for stories, because stories is what open people's minds, I think, in this field. So new angles and new stories that can tell or show different ways of working with arts and health.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Louise and I'm from Denmark. I work with Mikkel in Central Region, Denmark. My background is health. I am specialized in health promotion. So I hope to, how can I say, the bridge between art and health is going to get stronger.
Yes. Enforcing bridges. Yes, please.
I'm Rosa from Finland, and I'm a lobbyist for culture and arts associations in Finland. And well, I'm seeking for the powerful stories because my expertise in politics and my background is in politics. So, well, sometimes it's good to know something about the content also, how CultureForHealth really works, and then tell the stories to the politicians I may meet. And for example, Sakko, the professor, was last August speaking to many members of parliament in Finland and a couple of ministers also, and he was really inspiring and made an impact. So use these professors who are good speakers and
Yes, let's make more use of Pierluigi Sacco.
Good morning, I am Gianni Cottafavi. I am head of the Performing Art and Cinema office in regional administration. Our region is Emilia-Romagna, and we support hundreds of projects and activities, of course, in the cultural field. And I'm here to see and how not only in our region, but also, of course, in Europe, are coping with the item of health and how culture can improve health and well-being for people.
Thank you very much. Cornelia?
Hello, I'm Cornelia Kish. I'm from Culture Action Europe. We are an umbrella organization, a European cultural network, which is unique because we are the only one that is cross-sectoral. Therefore, I think the European institutions take us as a partner to discuss about cultural policy or policies that are related to culture. That's why, of course, for us, this arts and health topic is very, very important. And what I'm looking for is actually change makers. I'm looking in this room and I think all of you could become change makers. You've seen in Anita's presentation that you have they had to go through 1-year processes of talking to people, and we should all become those people who make a little change that you're taking step by step, and then hopefully we will really reach to a level that that we can, all of the regions in Europe have actually arts and health strategies like what was presented. And please also always think of the EU levels as a member state, as a region, as a city, that there are places to raise your voices, that this is important, so that we really become this platform on arts and health, experimentation and real policy change. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Francesco Volta. I work for the municipality of Bologna in the field of culture. I'm the responsible of the Urban Regeneration Office and Public Art. But I'm actually here because in my past, I worked for many, many years with the Associazione Oltre. So I'm here to be a witness of the first step of the parade. But I'm really interested about all the discussion here for my job, for my current job, and of course for my past.
Good morning, I am Luana Redalier from Bologna, and yesterday we were dancing in the streets and in the heat, and since we are alive, today we are here to present a little bit more of our Partat Parata, how it's meant for us all, and to share this experience in international network. It's very important for us, and yes, we're very interested in everything which is cross-sectoral, because it's a mixed parata. Parata comes from mixité, and so we wish to improve this mixture and cross-sectoral experience at the international level. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eva Vetel-Douwse from Northern Dimension Partnership on Culture. We are the partners also within the project, and that's my boss will introduce more with the organization itself. But as we are a policy body and also the body who works with the practitioners in the culture creative field, I look forward for the stories that you have brought with us with your expertise, but also for the stories that are going to be created today, because we are at the two sides of this amazing bridge between culture and health. And I'm really looking forward for those keywords that will make this bridge stronger, that will make, like, you know, this Da Vinci bridges, log by log, keyword by keyword, that we can come for the even stronger keywords and stronger ways to incorporate further on. Thank you.
Good morning. Sorry, and I beg your pardon for my English, because English is not my first, neither the second, neither the third language. So I'm Cristina Lasagni. I'm professor at the University of Italian Switzerland. And I'm here because I am part of an association called Italian Association called Arte e Salute, Heart and Health, where I lead a project called Psychoradio. Arte e Salute is an association that works with many projects in the mental health field. One project is Psychoradio, and other projects are 3 theater groups. And here there is Thesauri that later could spell about it. But Psychoradio we are programming. We are sorry. Is a radio made by patients. This is the difference about every other kind of radio that are trained by experts in communication. We made more than 800 of radio programs that are aired by a lot of Italian radio from north to Sicily. And we were born in 2006. So we are very old, and we have experienced that this radio is great for people that is doing it because it changed the idea of themselves. that they have when they understand that this program are useful for people that listen to it. And this is a very interesting way to work in this field of mental health field, increasing the self-esteem of people with problems.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Inga. I'm from Latvia. I'm happy to support my colleagues for the Another Dimension Partnership on Culture as part of organizers. My professional background is heritage and museums. I work for the National Commission of UNESCO of Latvia, and also in a museum who is developing a project related to mental health and youth. So my special interest is how heritage and museums can contribute to health and well-being.
How heritage and museums contribute. Great. Lucella?
Hi everyone, I'm Luisella Carnelli. I'm a researcher at Fondazione Fitzcarraldo, an independent foundation which deal with topic of cultural management and research. In particular, I'm interested in and I manage a project trying to evaluate the impact of cultural activities on individual and societal well-being, trying to focus on what kind of specificity artistic activities, starting from spectating, arriving until co-creation, can generate for people and for human being. And so this is the reason why I'm so interested in this today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi all, I'm Karolina and I am from Lithuania. I am a founder of Mental Health Arts Festival Bonds that has happened for the first time last September in Lithuania, where we brought together artists, arts organizations, mental health specialists, and people with lived experience with mental health. I remember years ago facing this very, very difficult question. Shall I stay in science? My training is in neuroscience. Shall I stay in science and health? Or shall I go to culture? Because culture has always been like on the side of neuroscience. And thanks to many people in this room, I never actually had to make this decision. It's possible to stay like across the two, and I'm very happy about that. And I'm here today for inspiration, which already I feel like started yesterday with the parade. And I'm here for friendships, because I feel that in this field, for this field to work, the long-lasting friendships, long-lasting relationships is one of the key ingredients of like the ingredients for the field to work. So like I am here for the friendships, and I feel like they already have started, and yeah, it's already the process ongoing. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Please.
Hi to everyone. I am Enzo. I come from Italy. I teach philosophy at the University of Urbino, and I am president of Associazione Oltre, who organized yesterday the Parada. But the organization is all on the shoulder of Lydia, not on mine. I am only representative, and I am Oltre is in the network Trans-Europe. And I am here to learn, because to teach one have to learn also. And so I am very happy to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I can take the, I think I'll go with it. Yeah, exactly. Please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Dorota Sienkiewicz. I'm from EuroHealthNet, where I work as a senior policy coordinator. I will speak after the roundtable, so you will hear a bit more about my organization. But basically, I'm very happy to be here, of course, looking for stories, case studies, how to bridge culture and health and bring it up to the attention of the EU policymakers, because this is what we do. But what I'm particularly interested in is to hear and maybe kind of discuss with all of you how to use this synergetic way of culture and health, to see it as a vehicle to improve health by reducing health inequalities. So I'm particularly interested in perhaps hearing how we can take this opportunity and improve health and equity and well-being of deprived populations living in deprived neighborhoods. I work on childhood poverty, so I'm particularly interested to talk about this angle of addressing inequalities. Thanks.
Yes, good morning. My name is Wiebke. I work for the Northern Dimension Partnership in Public Health and Social Wellbeing. We are sister organization of the Northern Dimension Partnership on Culture. And we are also a coordinator of a policy area health in the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. And in this work, we are really trying to work across sectors. And that, I think, is what I'm most interested in here also, to see how it can become a reality, to work not in silos, but together. And I participated also in Denmark at the event, and there were so many amazing insights from this. So I hope that we continue and that it stays this really interesting and amazing process.
Thank you, and hello everybody. I'm Annalisa Cicerchia. I'm from Italy. I'm a researcher in the area of cultural economics, and I'm a senior researcher at the National Statistical Institute in Italy, where I coordinate a line of research on new forms of welfare. And this is exactly the area where comes the topic of cultural welfare or culture-based new models of welfare. I'm particularly concerned with the issues of inequalities in access and to health and well-being that is a growing topic, I think, in Italy, but I suppose in Europe as well. And I'm also the vice president of the newly created Cultural Welfare Center that was established a couple of years ago. Well, the first day of the lockdown in Italy, ideally, that promotes advocacy actions, training, and collection of evidence, and bridging the two sectors at many possible ways possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annalisa.
Good morning, I'm Eugenio Soldati from Bologna. I work for welfare department of the municipality of Bologna, and I'm involved in health prevention and promotion program and projects. And I'm very happy to be here for think with you and understand the connection and the collaboration between heart and health. I'm very happy and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I am Dana. I am a music therapist and I'm a researcher in Aalborg University in Denmark, but I'm based in Tel Aviv in Israel. I'm a research partner. I was a part of the scoping review. I work with premature infants and their parents, and through my academic work, I managed to implement a music therapy service in the hospital. And so now with the collaboration with neonatologists, we're doing the same thing in a mother-fetus unit. So it's really the combination of academia and clinical work. I'm really interested in meeting more change makers and really inspirational people doing similar work, specifically in music, but of course, other art forms. And that's it. Thank you.
Dana will be our critical expert throughout these 2 days. Please.
Hi, everybody. Well, my name is Marta, and I am political advisor to the Health Minister of Latvia. And I am here actually for very egoistic purpose, because we have election this autumn and I will leave my job, and I'm looking for practical ideas and ways and inspiration. What can I do to put some initiatives like top-down in this top-down direction, but also how to support bottom-up, because you know what I see in Latvia, that it's not only that you need a political initiative, because also the civil service needs to have some ideas how to provide it. So I'm happy to be here and listen to all your experiences and practical intensives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Hello, sorry, I don't feel comfortable in speaking English because I have not spoken it for 15 years anyway. I worked for almost 40 years for the regional government, Emilia-Romagna region, so I live in Bologna. And then I retired, and since 2020, I'm the president of Ater Foundation. Ater is a publicly controlled foundation with 36 members, the first Emilia-Romagna region and 36 municipalities. Now we are working on a welfare cultural project named Theatre of Syrup. The focus is on the audience is on children 3-8 years old and their families. I'm very interested in this conference, and I'm sure that I will take inspiration and suggestions about strategies, actions, product, work methodology, and others. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning. My name is Bruno Zani. I'm a psychologist, a former university professor of social and community psychology at the University of Bologna. I'm from Bologna. And now I am president of the Istituzione Gianfranco Minguzzi, that is an institution of the metropolitan city of Bologna. As a university teacher, I was used to make research on different aspects of health psychology, on community psychology, that is to see the impact of some initiative on the health conditions of adolescents, for example, adolescent risk, on other aspects of the community life. Now I try with the Istituzione, I will talk about it soon, to realize what is called best practices in the sense that so we can unite theory and practice.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sophie. I'm a student of European Studies in the Netherlands, and I'm here as intern for the association Associazione Oltre. And I'm mostly here for my future and to experience what it is to when there is actual European integration at the local regional level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura from Ministry of Health from Lithuania, and I work with mental health promotion and prevention. I'm here for, of course, for networking, for finding new contacts to work further, as well as collect new practices, ideas, case studies, and tips how to facilitate health and culture fields together.
Thank you very much, Laura.
I'm Diana from Latvia. I work in the Ministry of Culture. I am the deputy head of Archives, Libraries and Museum Division, and I am interested in this new experience. I want to listen to you, and maybe something will happen in Latvia.
Why not? Why not? Yeah. Let's see.
Good morning. I'm Gabriele Tesauri from Bologna. I'm one of the directors, theater directors of Arte Salute, the association Christina talked before. Arte Salute, Heart and Health. I think I'm the right place today to stay here. And we talk about Arte Salute in the afternoon. So I'm very excited and interested of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marina Daskal. I'm a researcher at the Department of Public Health. Usually I work with vulnerable populations. I work with pregnant women and mothers. I worked with people from oncology centers, people with burnout, children with chronic diseases. Usually we make apps and platforms to support their well-being. And I'm also a counselor for nicotine dependence during pregnancy. And my role today and during these days is basically I'm giving insights from the scoping review part. And I'm really interested to translating the cultural experience into my methodological part and the researcher part that I've been through these years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stefan. I come from Cluj. I'm the executive director of the Cluj Culture Sector. We are an association that works with culture and other fields to mobilize the sector and the cultural processes to bring an impact in society. One of our areas focus is health and well-being. My colleagues will tell you more about it. I am personally here for the gentilezza of the group.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia. I'm colleague with Stefan and Rarița at Cluj Cultural Center. I am researcher and explorer, and I'm really interested to find out models, mechanisms which are good to be replicated and adapted to the new context and new vulnerable groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Well, I'll do this too. Hi, everyone. I'm Rarița Zbranca. I'm also from Cluj, Romania, here with the Romanian corner. We all work in the Cluj Cultural Center. We already work for 5 years with this topic of culture and well-being. We started with more experimental work, also research. And now the subject of interest for us is how to find ways to structurally influence the environment in which we work. So the benefits that we found at work at a small level could be scaled up and benefit more people. In this project, Cluj Cultural Center is one of the implementing partners. We are in charge of the mapping project, and we would be happy to actually, I don't know if at one point we can share a few words about it. We already have part of the mapping online, and we would be happy for you to see it and also enrich it with the initiatives that you know. Also, I've been contributing to the scoping review that is part of this project, and we are going to host you in Cluj in October for the next stop of this train. So there's a lot of connections, and I'll be happy that we are in touch these days.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Buongiorno. So I'm also part of the Cluj Corner since I come from Transylvania originally, but now, of course, I'm in Brussels. My name is Monica Urian. I'm working in the European Commission in the Directorate General Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. And I have the pleasure to be the policy officer responsible for CultureForHealth for this project. I'm here, of course, because I want to see how the project is going and to get inspiration to bring it back to our ivory tower, which is not a tower and it's not made of ivory. But the real reason I'm here is because I'm passionate about 3 things. One is Europe, one is like you, Carolina, I think it's your name, neurosciences and culture. So yeah, the 3 of them together. I thought when I heard about this project and my boss asked me, okay, would you like to take it on board? I said, yes, sure. So very happy to meet you all and see you again, the known faces.
Thank you very much, Monica.
Good morning. I'm Michaela. I work with Veronica here at the culture department of the
municipality on cultural welfare projects funded by European Social Fund. But my professional background is in the social field. So like Caroline and her, I can join 3 fields of working and not have to choose. So thank you for, this is the moment, I guess, and I hope we don't have to choose, but to join our skills.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning. I'm Lydia Buchner from Associazione Oltre. Some of you have been to the parade yesterday, so maybe you could see what we have done. We are an old association existing and surviving for 25 years. And after we have the chance to show you better what we are doing in this city. And I think we are doing culture and health projects for 25 years without really realizing it. Neither us, neither for whom it concerns. And we will show you after.
Thank you very much. Please.
Hello, I'm Alexandra. I'm the French one, I think, from Bordeaux.
The
Yeah,
French corner.
the French corner, but the corner just for me. The field of my job isn't culture and isn't health, but is the hand, culture and health, and I work in the hand.
I like that.
And with my team, we inform, we guide, we train professionals of both fields to make project together. And what I hope, it was a question, huh? What I hope that the cooperation between health and culture become essential, and in the way to take care of patients, but to take care of the professional and of the artist too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandra.
Hello, my name is Tomasz Simetinger. I'm the president of Union of Slovenian Cultural Societies. This is a national network organization that is covering all the Slovenian NGOs in the culture. I'm talking about the amateur culture, and I will introduce you more to it when I'm on the hot chair there. What are we doing? We are doing advocacy and research. Unfortunately, we wanted to start research now, going into this direction of elderly people, their needs, people with special needs, people with health issues and so on. But our founders, they said we are now more focused on the COVID and this epidemic situation and so on. So we are going to hammer it out, this direction when I come back from Bologna, and then I'll tell you about how successful we were. So what are we going to do? We are planning to make some pilot projects and so on, but I'll talk more about that when I, as mentioned, on the hot chair.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Polona Torkar, also from Ljubljana, Slovenia. So I am the coordinator for a network of professional NGOs working in culture and arts, also professional artists. We are mostly doing advocacy work for amelioration of the conditions of their working conditions and for creativity. But we have several projects focusing on cross-sectoral merging. For example, we are the initiators of a system of certification called the Cultural Enterprise, which is a model of introducing art activities into business environments in order to increase welfare and health of the employees. And now we're in negotiations with TÜV to make it a model to spread across Europe as a part of the social responsibility of different firms. So in the CultureForHealth project, we are a partner doing a pilot study with these effects of culture on well-being and health for the employees. So we will be representing the results of our studies in Cluj. And what I hope to find here is a lot of food for thought. We were plotting to how to make this some kind of a seed for a strategy to implement this kind of activities in Slovenia. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Elisabetta. I'm from Rome, but in theory I live in Florence, and I work for Iceman organization in Florence that has a relationship with mental health, and we work with people with mental problems, in particular with people that heard voices. And recently we introduced some art laboratory, and I'm really happy to be here because I understand that art is an instrument to break a wall and to share emotion, to externalize them. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I think we have one more. Yeah. You thought you could get away, didn't you? Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Dace. I'm from Northern Dimension Partnership on Culture from Riga. So shortly, Northern Dimension Partnership on Culture is covering 11 countries, Baltics and Nordics. So we are here in this project as one of the project members, and actually we are really happy to be here because one of our objectives is to enhance cross-sectoral cooperation within the region, and arts and well-being is a sector where you can start easily and then to upscale. What I'm expecting from this our beautiful days here in Bologna is, of course, as everyone here said already, to meet with each other, to network, to exchange the experience that we have, and to get new insights. And being together is really nice always. Thank you.
Being together is really nice always. Just look around. Come on, look around. I mean, that's a crowd. I'm kind of ministries, regions, researchers, people from the health sector, cultural professionals, umbrella organizations, transnational collaborators. That's you guys. I mean, any decent thinking politician would want to be here because something has happened in that zone that we will be creating today. So thank you very much for indulging me and giving me this presentation of who you are, who we are collaboratively. I think that's a great thing. Now, time is rushing, and time is always an issue on seminars and conferences like this one. So we will go directly into the next point. And Dorota, you said it yourself, that you will be the first one out to give a presentation. So please join me up here.
Does that work? Yes. Okay. Yes, I realized I'm the one that's just between now and the break very soon. So, and the time is an issue, I know that. So I'll try to be, there is some kind of an echo. I will try to be brief, but hopefully understandable. And I know that, as you said, Niels, many different levels of governance. So I hope my presentation will not be black magic to some, but this is what we do. So yeah, the title of my presentation is Health and Care Systems Built for the Future, and I'd say in Europe or in the European Union. So really how to elevate, make the case, make the business case, make the health case, arts in health promotion and disease prevention. So that's the focus of my presentation today. Next slide, please. Yes, I said I will say a couple of words about who I represent. You may have heard about EuroHealthNet from my colleague Lina, who was there in Aarhus a couple of months back. But for those of you who do not know us, we are EuroHealthNet, which is a European not-for-profit partnership
of very different organizations, I'd say, coming together, working together to improve health, equity, and well-being. And at the moment, we have 64 members in 22 EU states, 25 across the European region. And these are mostly organizations such as national public health institutes. So for example, I'm from Poland, it would be the Polish National Public Health Institutes. From France, it's Santé Publique France. So really hardcore public bodies, health promotion agencies, very strictly focusing on healthcare systems, but interested in doing more, in taking it out of this kind of black box of getting together and saying and agreed to health is so much more than just healthcare systems, doctors, nurses, medicines, etc. It's how to keep people healthy in the first place, how to improve their good health and make it equitable so that it actually works for all of us. Yes. So how we do that? We do that, or we try to do that, by addressing the underlying determinants of health and reducing the inequalities in health outcomes, but also in health opportunities, so the opportunities for good life and good living and working conditions. We collect, or we are interested in collecting good practices, case studies, stories, as I said, but also evidence, doing research, participating in projects, EU-funded projects, trying to really get it together and see what works and can and should be done within and beyond health care systems in Europe. Next slide, please. Yes, I think this slide very aptly represents why we decided, all those years back, to work on not only the very visible, lifestyle risk factors, so very easy to grasp, things and understanding of why people get unwell, etc. So by that, I mean smoking, alcohol consumption, lack of physical activity, etc. That's it's not very, very easy, but this is what usually health promotion, disease prevention practitioners do, the low-hanging fruits. And that's great, but there is so much more under the surface of the water, as you can see, that needs to be improved, restructured, reformed, and these are much more difficult to do, and that's why we need a cross-sectoral, the whole of society, whole of governance approaches. So acting on the housing, employment, social support, crime and safety in the neighborhoods we live. And then very, very, very deep underlying structural, systemic inequalities in our societies, at the local, regional, national, and global level, the wealth distribution, the income, the fiscal policies, gender and class. So this is what we are trying to tweak into our working for years already, and it's up and down. And now first with the pandemic, now with the war in Ukraine, it's kind of rewinding the clock back, and we have to start again. But it makes a case for why investing in health, investing in caring societies, in different ways of living and organizing ourselves is so much important. Next slide, please. Yes, so just very, very quickly, this is kind of, making a case that the economic case for investing in health equity. It costs the European governments daily, back in, I think it was the data from 10 years ago, every year European societies lose 980 billion euros, so that's 9.4% of the GDP, only because the health outcomes across the societies are so unequal. And there was a discussion about the cost of mental health, the mental illness, and cost of stresses and anxiety, depression in our societies. A couple of years back, so before the pandemic, it was 600 billion euros lost every year because of the fact that people are unwell mentally. So there is clearly an economic case for investing in health, investing in mental well-being and those things. And as you can see, it's very interesting actually. In 2019, the WHO Europe produced a health equity status report in which they kind of made a classification of, okay, where's the biggest proportion of the, what's responsible for these health inequalities. And against the kind of popular thinking, it's not as much, the quality of healthcare, whether there are doctors, nurses, drugs, etc. It is important, but it's only 10% of the kind of relations. It's mostly, the financial insecurity, not being able to make ends meet, the poor quality housing, neighborhood environment, so the environmental, the climate change and air pollution, and then the social and human capital, so the connections between people, and then a little bit less employment and working conditions, which are important as well. So yeah, investing in health equity, promotion and disease prevention represents there's a huge potential, loads to be done, loads that can be done, and that's why the stories like yourselves in the Culture and for Health project are important to make sure that the EU decision makers, policy makers across the sector, so not only in the EU health policy, but also EU social employment policy, social inclusion, hear about it and include it in their strategic frameworks for now, for the future, in this whole recovery, resilience, rebuilding efforts climate, I'd say. Next slide, please. Yes, I put here kind of a little bit of a kind of very short mentioning of the fact that, and I hope as most of you will know, working at the EU level on health and care or social care is quite difficult because of the EU competences in health and care sectors. So there's always a kind of this discussion, member states saying, hands off our health and social care systems. This is our competency. EU can only advise, encourage and support the exchange of good practices. There is a lot of funding that can be streamed down to the member state, regional, local levels. And just to give you an example, in the EU health policy area, in the previous 7-year funding period, there was only 413 million euros to improve health, work on health inequalities, the conditions that make people ill, etc. In the current period, 2021-2027, this amount is 10 times as much as it was before. It's 5.3 billion. So clearly, the EU level, the Commission has seen an importance of investing in health, in being prepared for the crisis, as we've seen. But now our role is really to make sure it again doesn't just go back into the biomedical approaches to health. So the hospitals, inventing new drugs, etc. So treating diseases, so treating or entering the system when people are already sick. Yes, so a little bit about in the past, the funding was really low. It kind of went up a bit, but then went down again with the economic crisis, with austerity measures and cutting on everything that had to do with societies. We've seen attention to health inequalities brought back because of the pandemic, and efforts to rebuild the systems and the societies, as I already mentioned. But the future needs, the current needs, the future needs are really, really big, and the gap is there that the EU and states are looking to fill in. And together with EuroHealthNet, but also partners across the different organizations at the EU level, we've been looking for innovative funding for health promoting and enhancing services, and these are the services in the social economy, social infrastructure, and services such as culture, arts, so everything that can really be brought in and join the conversation and show the policymakers that it works and can be done. Next slide, please. So, well, according to me, that's the kind of very subjective slide. Where do arts and culture for health fit in the EU health and care policies horizon? Well, at the EU or European health policies area, there are a number of potential venues to enter and channels. The DG Santé, so the Health and Food Safety Directorate of the Commission, is working very intensively on a new initiative called NCDs, so non-communicable diseases, healthier together. And there are two very interesting strands in it. One is on health determinants, and the other one on mental health and neurological illnesses. The mental health one is probably more interesting, I'd say. And there will be a very big communication launched at the end of June. And with that one, the member states will be offered a whopping amount of 75 million to invest in joint action to work on health determinants, for example. So I think with the good practices and case studies that I already talked to Cornelia about, to kind of make sure that the Commission notices and then puts it in the document, and then the member states are encouraged to invest and roll it out, test it across the countries. I think there's a potential for kind of sustain make sure that the project's legacy is out there. There is a kind of continuous efforts to improve the sustainability and resilience of the healthcare systems. And again, going beyond the biomedical approaches is important here. There's a whole conversation about the European Health Union. There's a potentially European mental health strategy coming out next year. And the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU is going to have a big say here. So I don't think there are anybody from Czechia here, but I wanted to say, if you have contacts with the ministries, make sure this is actually pushed forward. In the field of social policies, speaking the language of the European Pillar of Social Rights, it's a compass taking us, the whole EU, towards making sure essential social rights and access to health and mental health are in it as well. And there is a big piece of legislative work going on through the Commission at the moment. It's the European Care Strategy. So again, how we want to restructure our societies so that they are more caring, and this continuity of care and the long-term life course approaches are very important, because the Commission at the moment focuses very much on the early years, so early childhood development and care, which is very important, but then long-term care, so really towards the end of life. It's important as well with the healthy and active aging, but the working population are not yet really, there's not really much for the Commission to kind of put on the table. So just closing it would be very interesting. We've been also working with the concepts of well-being economy, and I think this is beyond this presentation today here, but it's also a new, interesting, innovative approach coming up at the EU level. So I encourage you to maybe look into that as well. It's kind of how we measure the progress in our society. So the beyond the GDP approach, recovery efforts, socially just recovery and resilience, not only investing in businesses and economic operators, the language of green and digital transition, and again, how socially just it is. Not everybody has the skills and means, resources to enter the boat. So do we take everybody with us? And culture might be one of those venues to do so. And then the whole conversation with insurance and budget holders, who is going to pay for that? Is it paying off? What's the return on investment and all these things? And how well, yeah, advocacy via national level and stakeholder networks, working on demanding maybe or maintaining and nurturing the structures and platforms at EU level, and capacity building and good practice exchange. I think this is very important. And I have the last slide, which is a kind of summary of what I just said. So speaking the EU health language, again, understanding the EU versus national competences, but by pinpointing it down to the Article 168 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union says really clearly the health in all policies, principle approaches is the way to go forward, and using the economies of scale in research, in practice exchange, in policy making is a good way to do so. Entering the NCDs and mental health strategic frameworks with good practices at hand and evidence, working in partnerships and alliances, but I see it already happening a lot, so that's great. And then speaking the post-pandemic and crisis preparedness language, speaking green and digital transition, investing in people, skills, assets, communities. That's what the policymakers are, that's what we've seen are interested in actually. And using the existing and advocating for new structures, if those are not there yet, for coordination at the EU level. There are some, but not perhaps adequate for bringing together the culture and health, but there could be subgroups created, for example, under that there is a steering group on health promotion, disease prevention, different expert groups and special interest committees within the European Commission, European Parliament, and really kind of, I'd say, already gearing towards the change of the institutions in 2024 with the new European Parliament, with the new Commission. So that's what we've already been doing as well. And I'm really happy to take whatever I can to enter our speaking language as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. And thank you very much for addressing the need for new innovative funding, basically, in these zones, because I think that's one of the things that we will kind of come back to again and again over these 2 days. Pierluigi touched on it. He said social interaction. One of the very, very important things that he can see in his research is how social interaction, the things that we do together, influence us and helps us, for instance, deal with issues like stress. Anita talked about it when she said we need strategies that basically embrace the opportunity, and then she didn't say do things together, but to act together collaboratively, to experience together. Coming from the arts field, working with democracy and an audience reception, we know in fact that 80% of all cultural consumption takes place in the company of somebody else. It is a social thing. It's something we do. It's followed and it's embraced by, and it's even foregone by negotiations. What should we do today? Where do we go? Is it for me and you? What about the kids? What about the friends? Is it a theater? Are we going to the beach? Are we going to the forest? But it's a social interaction. Social interactions helps us. And yesterday, we were all, or most of us were part of a very social interaction. We were part of the parade. We were part of something that was built and designed to create a social interaction for kids and their families, for grown-ups, and even bring it out into a context where people might not have that easy access to culturally social interaction. So, Matteo and all your colleagues, it's time to give us the reflections and the background for the parades and for what we were part of yesterday. Please take the stage.
Thank you very much. I'm joining with my PC 1 second to deliver some contents. We thought that the best idea to deliver some contents about the parade was to call live witnesses that helped us, that helped it sprout its beginnings and that are helping it now after 25 years of experience. So I'd like to welcome Lydia, Leila, she's somewhere, Enzo, Franz is already moving, and Luana is already there. Unfortunately, Sophia, I did not have an embarrassing photo of you yet, so I just call your name. Lydia will give us a little bit of a background and perspective of how the association started, because the parade is one of the things that the association did in its 20 and more years of experience. So I prepared some surprises for you, some photos, and you can go through them and tell the stories that they are related to. So it's just some names and photos, and when you want.
I think one of the characteristics, one of the characteristics of our association is that we always worked in the suburbs. Many times I don't come to the center of the city because I'm all around. As you have been yesterday, you have been to Pilastro, which is one of the suburbs of Bologna, in Quartiere San Donato San Vitale. And what is really important in all these years, and it's 25 years, this is a work of relationship. And the biggest value, I think, of all things we do and we have done is creating relations and trying to maintain them once and try to get into new relations with others that keeps a certain balance between old and new. One of the biggest things we did in the beginning, because we have to say that, we started when Bologna was Cultural Capital 2000. And I just arrived in Bologna this time because I'm not from here. And I thought, oh, let's do an association. This is a way you can do things you like to do. And so we started to do a festival, which was one of the first festivals in Bologna. It's called Festival Bologna Interculture Festival, because we did it together with communities of foreigners in a center which still wasn't called Bologna Intercultural Center. Then it became it. And this festival was one of the first, was the humus where we built on for further projects. This is still when we were all younger, because it's more or less 20 years ago. There's Franz, it's me and other people, some left. One of the characteristics is also that we are an association almost always with international members. It's not, Bolognese people were really in the minority in the beginning. People come and go, and this flow allows that ideas can come and go too. And some stay. Yes, let's go to the next slide. Okay, this festival has been introduced because it was in a near suburb to Bologna center city. And so one of the ideas was, oh, people of Bologna don't know what's that festival, Bologna Intercultural Festival. How can people get to know that there is in the suburbs a festival, because most things happen in the city center. And so we started to do a small parade. And this was somehow the ingredients of this parade, where we do workshops before, and so people get involved, different workshops. People propose, and you do them. And we had only 3 workshops in the beginning. It was bikes, we decorated. It was doing hats, and this was very important, cups of clay to avoid plastic. And this already 20 more years ago. And we had always, even if we worked with kids, wine with us. Because it's very important, because it's a fiesta also. And so a fiesta has also a how do you say, un elemento dionisiaco, okay? And so this is, but already, and the first parade was just, we went over the bridge to the city. We were more or less about 100, 150 people, I don't remember. And maybe already more, okay. This was the beginning of the small network. And then to introduce this festival, and then this parade grew and grew and grew. And until this was the beginning. And it's very significant, but what's very important, we passed about the arch of the city center, okay, coming from the suburbs to the city center. Like claim the city, claim also the center of the city coming from outside. Then from 2001, this was 2001 was the first, and then the last really big one was 2013. But why did we go to the suburbs in 2013 with a really big parade? Because in 2012, we started from the center going outside, and there were 35,000 people, and we are not a big association. And so to handle and to get along with all these lots of people, so we said we have to reflect, and we stopped, and we stopped for 2 years, and then I will go on later. And also people who have been working there, because mostly of the work is voluntary work, and most, at least in the beginning of all these years, was based on auto-financement, because this gives you also a lot of independence. And I think one of the things I could discuss here is also how cultural projects and cultural arts and health projects for the community, what's the link between independence of these projects being financed and auto-finance yourself, because also this is a part of getting involved the people, of participating, and so that people can feel the project is ours. Yes, this is one. These are one of these parades. This was the security service, all yellow, and this we also started to reflect about what we were doing, and we call it symposio, okay, conferences. In the first conference we did in 2004, we invited Professor Sacco, and he came, and he gave us a lot of good inputs too, and we are still thinking about this. And the second one was in 2007. Then, okay. But we never had a place for ourselves. So in 2007, we decided we will rent a place under a bridge. It was from the railways. And so we built it by ourselves because there was nothing in there. And these are pictures of the beginning of this place under the bridge. This was a parade we started for the new year, and so we could meet there, do our things there. But then it was transformed. This is inside now. There are also workshops and things. So we transformed it to a cultural place with workshops and events in the first years. For 10 years, it has been really our core pulsante. It has been the, how do you say, headquarter of everybody of us. It's called Il Buco. Well, another project with, we always get inspired by projects we meet outside, as maybe you will do here, and we will do here. We went once to the festival, I think France and Leila, she's coming later. We have been to a conference which was called New Traditions and New Festivities, something like that. Banlieue d'Europe, we were part of another network called Banlieue d'Europe, and we went to Lyon, and we saw this soup festival, which is a street festival. We did art and soup and art and participation. And we saw it, we participated, and we said we will do it too. And we did it. And also, as all the things, it starts very small, and by it becomes bigger and bigger because people feel involved. And we still do it, but we stopped doing it in 2019 because of the pandemic situation. And let's see. Then after many years, now we are running another cultural center. It's called Camere d'Aria, which means which means, well, it's this. Aria is air, and air is very important for us because air means that it flows, it goes. And camera means rooms, because there's two kind of rooms. We have also a bike workshop. It's something between, okay, you're working with your hands, handicraft. So on the first floor downstairs, there's all from the kitchen to masks and a bike workshop. And the bikes, they have these things in there, which in Italian is called camere d'aria. But upstairs, there are really rooms. So it's a double meaning of. And I think we're running this place since 2014. And it's from the municipality, and we have a contract with the municipality, but we had to build a lot also there because it was not really in good conditions. So it's, again, you involve the people, it's all participatory projects, but now there's a lot of discussion about what's participation, which kind of participation, how is it sometimes instrumentalized, this word, or also it has become almost banality sometimes when it's not really filled with it. Basta. This is nowadays, yes, this was a group from Brazil. We did a big mask workshop, and then we did performances in the city. And these are people who are coming, and we have a terrace, maybe who is going to come to us tomorrow. Tomorrow, yes. We will have at least some aperitivo on the terrace. Finished? Next.
I'm not seeing Leila, so I'm putting her photo again, hoping that she comes out. Let's try to summon her. Hi, Leila.
And 20 years ago, the first I was last out, but I was wrong. First round. And then I was panicked, I was afraid, I was serious, and I was sick. And now I'm fine. I'm great. I'm serious. Now and so, the following year, all asking each other, yes, I said, no, I can't, no, I said, yes, I can, because I'm fine, and I see everything, next year, everything, job. Me, an artist, it can't teach you. I can't. It's not true because and it seems hard, huge, my life. I believe in flying. I believe in flying. So that's it.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. And stop, thank you. And always I'm funny and pretty and serious and slim. Thank you.
Enzo and Sophie, if it's okay, continuing you for
okay, thank you.
Now. Just one quick thing. They will speak about a surprise. They will speak about something we did, and what you will see in the background now are part of that surprise.
Thank you very much, Matteo. 20 years ago, I was taking part in an event, festival, of the kind that our president, no, I am the president, but she's the vice president, but at the time was the president. And a very beautiful event like the one that yesterday all of you took part, almost all of you took part. I was very happy. I am a scholar, and scholar write books, and so I have the idea to put on the paper what was happening, so that the future people can understand the wonderful moment that all people that were there organized and creates. And so we begin to stay together a lot of times, all together, on the basis of the example of Don Milani in Italy. We make an experiment of collective writing in many evenings, eating a lot, drinking a lot also, and this is very good for health. And page after page, we write all together a very long book that was a witness of that particular atmosphere that we all will live together in a lot of this kind of parties, parade and festivals. The book stays there for many years, and it is like the wine. Books that stay there became better and better. And at the end of the day, arrives someone other, that is Sophia. And Sophia found this old paper in our archive, and now I give the floor to Sophia. I would like to say something before leaving the floor to Sophia, that will present the result, the book that is published today, the first time. I would say that Oltre is a very cozy and comfortable place where all new ideas have had a place. And I would like to thank Matteo that brought to us a new idea, the idea that this kind of work that we make is also a kind of health. It is something connected with healthcare. And so we are today here to understand all better this connection between the two, to do culture, to make better a city with culture and health of our people. Thank you very much. The floor to Sophia.
Thank you. I don't know if it's working. Hello. Thank you, Inzofano. Yes, so I don't know so much about wine, but I know a little bit about books. And when I was working inside the archive of the association, I came across pieces of the book in many different versions, written each by somebody different. And I could immediately see the importance of the book. I could immediately sense that first I wanted to read more of it, and second that other people probably would have benefited from reading what was there hidden away. And I think a lot of you can relate to this feeling of finding that one source when you're looking through primary data, and that's what it felt like. And so it was a lot like Leila said, a lot of trust from the association and from everybody that was that has put a lot of work in the book. And after the first discovery, we just went for the editing process, and after a lot of shaking and fixing, the book came out, and I think the result not only speaks about, like, tells the story about what the association does, but also brings to light a lot of the literature and work that has been already written on the association. There were a lot of theses, a lot of conference speeches and newspaper articles that I found hidden and that the book is able to bring to light. And I think that was very important for the association as well. And so I'm just very happy to have been part of it and to be here presenting it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. The things that you are seeing are quotes, coming from the book. There is also one quote from Professor Sacco. Anyone that can find it wins nothing, the glory, but there is something from Sacco. I just give you an hint. It's not the one about mozzarella in carrozza. And so, Luana and Franz, if you want to conclude with your witnesses. Luana? Oh, well, how you want.
Okay. Hello, I'm Franz. This is my name within the Partot. I'm not Francesco Volta, but Franz in Partot. Now I'm 45 and I work for the city council, but at the beginning I was the youngest of the group of Lydia. It's not simple to summarize such an important part of my life, but basically I started to work with Associazione Oltre at the end of the 2001 until the year 2013. And I think that I first met Miss Lydia Buchner. We were inside the Fest Festival, and I was doing a workshop of gypsy dance. And my partner was my friend Manuela, the clown. And before that, in the year 2000, I was living in Brussels, and I was working for a huge institutional project called the Zineke Parade, which was a street ecological parade celebrating the intercultural mix of the city. When I came back to Italy, I had the occasion to speak about this project and this experience with Lydia, that you met already, and with Francis Righolt. Well, I think that you can understand the power and how Lydia can involve people. But really, I have enough time to speak how was this Francis Righolt, a kind of myth, a mythological figure inside the Partot Parade. Just to tell you how was Francis. Francis, a day in which I was ready to go to Senegal, I was asking to him, Francis, at what time do you have your flight? What time you have to go to the airport? Francis answered me, airport, fly, of course I'm going by hiking. And me to Senegal, and Francis, of course, what a question. So this is just to say that amazing projects are made by amazing people. And I think that Lydia and Francis were the kind of people asking to you something like, are you ready to organize a big parade even here in Bologna without money, without institutional framework? But you know what? They were able to do it. We were able to do it. Anyway, in 2013, I worked at my last parade that was in the first suburb of the city. It was the first in Pilastro, the district in which we were yesterday for the parade of children. And at that moment, as Lydia said, we noticed that the Partot parade was becoming too big and too difficult to manage. In average, we had something like 15,000, 20,000 people. The most part were young people and students. You know, Bologna is a city of students. So I think that what is interesting about this project of Partot is that it has been able to change. And in a certain way, in a society in which, where the economy asks you, force you to always to grow up, Partot had the courage to decrease in a certain way. And this was a very wise choice, I think, in terms of sustainability, ecology, and safeguarding of the aim of the project. That's mean participation, self-determination, active citizenship, cultural empowerment, and above all, the happiness and of the participants and of the organizers. And finally, as Antonella Tandi of the Giardino del Guasto that I saw here, that it's one of the other big organizers of this street parade for children now, as Antonella always said, a child-friendly parade as well as a child-friendly city represent a parade and a city for everyone. So in a word, a city partot, that's mean for everyone.
Next time I will dance, but now I'm talking. And I'm Luana, and from Sambaradan. Sambaradan is Afro-Brazilian dance and music group that really was born and grew up with and together with the Partot Parata. The first workshop we did was in 2004. So this year we are 18 years old. We become adults. And we, in all these 18 years, we always try to keep alive the spirit of Partot. Partot means in the local language for all. And for all means really people of all ages, people of every kind of origins, of different countries, being intercultural in this real sense. And also this year, for example, in our workshop, we have new people. They are sometimes 20 years old, they are sometimes 55, 6 years old, and we dance together, we gather together, and it's really, every time this is very healthy, very beautiful, and a big challenge also. Because you have to keep so many different souls together, and you choose what is your language. For us, it's dancing together, there is theater, there is music, there is in the parade, you saw there are so many arts and crafts workshops, so there is really space for all, there is really a possibility for all to involve. As the Brazilian Carnival, Partot Parata is breaking rules, is creating new rules, is creating new kinds of society where people can stay together, can meet together. In my professional life, Partot Parata has let's say, an opposite impacts, because also thanks to the Partot network, we've been invited 4 times to the défilé de la Biennale de la Danse de Lyon, which is a huge parade, a choreographic parade, totally funded by public institutions. And this year we saw défilé growing and keeping this institutional impact, and Partot Parade had to decrease. And so in a way, that's when I was meeting all the choreographers from France, they would say, oh, what do you do after the parade? And they were really astonished, thinking that we are doing it for free, it's for passion, while the same work for French choreographer is part-time job for 1 year. And so this is a challenge. Many people work with art in Italy you have to face choice. And so I am in my daily life a social worker. I'm working in a public institution in social field, but in my parallel life, I dance, I feel, I make people dance with me, with us, and meeting people to dance. We are fine. It's fun for us to be here, like the Velha Guardia. It's also part of the Brazilian Carnival. Every défilé is opened by la Velha Guardia, the old stuff, which is keeping the tradition, but also walking, going front. And yesterday with Leila, we were saying, but how long will it go on? We will continue dancing in the streets, being clown all day long and all life long. And so maybe yes, because it's really healthy. It's really a possibility to play. And I think that it's very precious in our adult life to have possibilities to continue and to play, to transform, you paint your body in blue or in different colors to give colors to your life.
And this is what Lydia said at the beginning. Maybe it's 20 years we deal with health, we deal with culture, but we didn't focus on that. But it's practice. It's really practical what we do every day in all activities. Playing is healthy, having passion is helping, bringing people together is really well-being and individual and social well-being, of course. Our quote is from the very first workshop in 2004, which was the quote, "Mente sana in corpo samba," which is taken from Bossa Nova and before from Latin. And so I will give it here again. It's healthy body in a healthy mind in a samba body. And I really wish health and passion and joy to us all and everyone. Partot.
Thank you, Luana. Thank you to everyone. We have to rush to the coffee break. I just want to steal 1 minute very quickly to thank the project for two main things. One, that these things that they were saying, that it is a chance for us to validate a long experience, you know, that sometimes you don't have the time or the resources to reflect on, but this type of processes really gave us the chance to do this, and also gave us the chance to reflect on the health, not only on people and communities, but also on us cultural worker ourselves, you know, especially in a country like Italy, it's not always easy, but it was very important for us to bring live witnesses today, because healthy individuals make healthy communities, and healthy individuals that happy individuals make happy and healthy communities, and happy individuals that work towards a common and extemporary scope like the parade really become a community without having to say every day, every second, we are a community, we are a community, we are a community. And but this is possible in this informal cultural place that stay between, you know, the individual at its beginning and the more institutionalized and maybe more stable professional and life. And when you fund this type of realities, letting them free to do what they are able to do, this is the result. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are slightly after time. Actually, we are half an hour after time. Don't need to check your clocks. I've already done that. So what we are doing is we're squeezing in a bit, a pause, shortening something a bit here, but we will manage. What's most important is a happy mind in a samba body needs coffee. I need coffee. So we will have now a 20-minute stretch your legs, dance some samba, get some coffee, be back in 20 minutes, and please take your things off the chairs because we just have to rearrange a bit, okay? Thank you very much.